when they see us, they're like, we 100% recognize how difficult it is what you're doing, right? And I think it's because when you really get into that business, it's like the recipe cards, the delivery, how do you keep costs low, how do you create a consistent offering, how do you get repeat buyers, like all that is stuff that we do. So kind of what I alluded to earlier, we're very much a white glove service, not only for the restaurants, but also it just makes sense because we have the data, we have the know-how, we have the process in place. So I think to answer your question, just thinking about one example of a restaurant, they pretty, without naming names, they're a pretty successful, very successful restaurant. They've done and they've tried meal kits, and they came to us and like, hey, we recognize what you're doing here. We understand how hard it is, and we see the vision. So we're on board. And we've gotten a couple folks like that, and knock on wood, they've been very satisfied partners. So
this episode is brought to you by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, CEO and founder of EatMise, Robert Chen. My man, Robert, are you feeling unstoppable today?
I feel great, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Dude, the pleasure is mine. I cannot wait to dive into your story, and I love getting non-traditional. I like to remind the restaurant industry that our industry is the second largest industry in the world, and it spurs offshoots. It has roots or branches that come out of it, and we generate opportunity for other verticals, especially in the world of tech as we march into the future. So real quick, actually, before we dive into what Mise is, let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
Yeah, no, great question. I was thinking, one thing that always comes to mind and that is very reflective, I feel like, of the entrepreneurial journey is actually Steve Jobs gave a graduation speech to Stanford. It's a pretty famous speech you can find on YouTube, and a lot of great quotes from that. The one that really stuck out to me was that you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason that always stuck out is because with something like this, with building a business where there's so much uncertainty, that's kind of a white space, you have to have faith. You always have to have faith that what you're doing, will make sense later, and you're kind of in uncharted territory. So that quote kind of sticks out to me because it's something that you really have to have when you're trying to build something from scratch. So
yeah, man, for
yeah.
sure. And if you don't believe, then how are you gonna get others to believe?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you gotta sell yourself on the idea before anyone else buys into it.
100%. Yeah.
Awesome way to get this thing started. So you don't really have a traditional entry into hospitality.
No,
it sounds like
definitely not.
Like you seem like a really smart guy. I saw that you graduated summa cum laude 4.0 from, what was it, Columbia?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, right? So
cool.
You kind of had you can tell that you're a smart, ambitious guy. You're young in life. Do you want to just kind of give us an idea of what you were doing before EatMise?
Yeah. So I've been in New York almost 20 years now. Went to Columbia undergrad. I actually studied electrical engineering, but most of my career actually before EatMise was in finance and investing, different kind of hedge funds and private equity, distressed debt a lot. But really through that time, spent a lot of time understanding businesses, understanding what makes businesses work, understanding the math behind all of it, understanding the economy, understanding markets. So that was very much my background before, and obviously did a really large shift and started a company during the pandemic.
Yeah, I see you're with Citi, you're with Mid-Ocean Credit Partners, you spent some time with Lucadia.
Yeah.
Your titles were investment analyst, investment professional. What was Strategic Value Partners?
So Strategic Value Partners is it's a hedge fund and private equity shop out of Connecticut and primarily focused on distressed debt. So what we would do is we would buy the famous ones in 08, 09 are like Lehman Brothers or like General Motors, things that are kind of going under. And the idea is you buy that, you buy a lot of the debt, you restructure it through bankruptcy, and you create value through kind of finding a business that's struggling or has too much debt. You restructure it, find a new plan, and then see if you can create a lot of value for shareholders.
Now, when you buy someone's debt, is it basically like, are you like... I don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
How do you make money buying debt?
Yeah, it's a good question. So very simply, companies in general, for money, they either issue debt or equity.
Okay.
Right? Equity is like stocks. Like you go on the stock market, you buy Apple stock, that's stock, right? But they also have a lot of debt. And that debt is usually syndicated to, large, pension funds, institutional funds, like billions and billions of dollars of stuff. And what happens is when the company gets really distressed and really bad, the equity value, it tanks. And what happened is that actually is very tradable and tanks as well. And so what happens is a lot of these institutional funds, pension funds, whatever, they'll sell it through to, distressed debt funds like where I used to work at. We buy it at a cheap amount. And then usually through the bankruptcy process, you own the new company through that debt. I don't know if I've explained it well, but the idea is through that process, you can basically,
So you take on their debt, but you take on their assets.
Yeah, you basically own basically, yeah. Where you're now so traditionally equity owners are the owners of the businesses, and debt folks are just lending to the business. And through this process, through distressed debt, you essentially own the company by creating a new structure through buying the debt, if that makes sense.
I think I mean, I'm sure it's more complicated than that. I'm sure that's
I feel like I'm butchering this explanation.
No, you're doing good. You're doing good. I mean, we're not here to talk about that today.
No, I love it though.
But I am just curious about how people get to where they are.
Yeah.
And, there seems to be a leap too from hey, I'm a super smart numbers I don't know, investment I'm going to use the word geek, but I mean it in the most respectful way. The most respectful way. To hey, I'm going to take a 90-degree turn, or maybe even 180. Yeah, and get into the world of entrepreneurism. I'm going to get into the world of not just any entrepreneurism, but food tech. What was going on there? How long? That happened in 2020.
Yeah,
right. You made this pivot. But was it bubbling up inside of you? How was the world of investment analytic?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to call it. Math geek nerd stuff. How did that lead to the restaurant industry?
Yeah, it's great question. So, truthfully, a lot of it was the pandemic.
Okay.
And this is very much a pandemic story, not only from the business side, but on a personal side. I think the truth is a lot of people through the pandemic, they were kind of jolted into who am I? What do I love to do? What do I like to do with my time, and what matters to me? And I think on a personal basis, just with the pandemic, it very much hit me. One, I've always wanted to start a company. That's something that I've always, had this urge. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs you talk to, they always have that itch that they can't get rid of. And I've always had that. So that was one. And I think the second thing was trying to do something that I felt like was a positive contribution to society. And what I mean by that is I do believe, just philosophically, to have fulfillment, you have to do something that you think is a positive, contribution. And during that time, during the pandemic, restaurants were all suffering, right? It's no secret. And I think there were a lot of short-term solutions, the government was providing PPP loans. A lot of people were thinking of creative solutions. But what I realized just putting on my business hat was there has to be some more long-term sustainable way to help restaurants increase their revenue and profit margin that's reflective of their value add to society. And that was kind of the genesis of this, where it's hey, you know what? I want to do something. I've always wanted to build something. And I want to do something that I think can make a difference to a large, you mentioned it earlier, right? Restaurants, I think, hold so much value to all of us in our hearts and all of our societies and communities. But I always felt like the profit margins that they had were just not reflective of that.
Right. I think the path you took to enter into an entrepreneurial lifestyle venture, if that's the path you want, eventually to be an entrepreneur, understanding the world of finance and getting into investment analytics and that world just must be understanding how money moves and works has to be such a benefit to that. What a great master's before becoming an entrepreneur, right? Because I feel that's where most people struggle when they want to be an entrepreneur. They're how do I get the money?
Yeah.
How does money work? How do I find it? And I think just being surrounded and seeped in the financial world and just having a full understanding of how that works. I mean, did you learn a lot about how to was it easy for you to find money?
I think
because you're managing huge portfolios.
Yeah. I would say it's very. I think to answer the first part of your question, I do think when you're looking at thousands of businesses, every day you're looking at 5 new businesses, right? And you're digging into them, and there's becomes a lot of kind of common philosophies and commonalities about why do businesses work?
It's continued education.
It is. Yeah. It is. And you find commonalities, right? Is it why does this business work? And again, I was in distress, so I saw a lot of businesses that were dying.
Right.
Why does this work? Why does that not work? Why does this work? Why does that not work? And I think that education very much helped kind of shape a business.
Were there like aha moments you had, like you said, like you find commonalities?
Yeah.
Were there aha commonalities of like, ooh, this is inspiration. I'm gonna tuck that away.
Yeah.
So like when it's my turn.
I think one thing that this might be a simplistic way of looking at it, but when you look at a lot of these businesses, I think there's businesses that just exist and they've found a way to kind of make money. And basically, I think there's kind of two categories. The latter category of that business is like they found some creative way to create more value out of less. And what I mean by that is I think there's some businesses that are zero-sum game, where they have an ecosystem, they buy something, they sell it, and there's just not a lot of value being created. And I think there's other businesses that I feel like are creative in a way where they can create value. So just to give you an example, right? Like why I say this and how it applies to our business. And I know we haven't jumped to that yet, but
okay.
I really wanted to put on my math hat and say, okay, how do we, for instance, create more value out of using existing assets? Right. So
there's no overhead for you.
Exactly.
Like you're just adding something on to what already exists.
Exactly.
A path of least resistance.
Yeah. I mean, that's only one aspect, but I think over time you do just find more broad commonalities. And for me, a lot of it comes down to math. You mentioned kind of the analytics and geek part, but it's true. It's like I think a lot of there's a qualitative aspect and a quantitative aspect to building a business, and I think you always have to tie that together and always remember the bigger picture. Does the math work on this?
Right. Like if you look at like say, I don't know, Ford, for example, like he didn't invent the wheel. He didn't even invent the combustible engine. He just put all those things together.
Yeah.
You know? And like said like, so it's kind of like what you did. Like I'm not inventing something new. I'm just taking what's already out there and I'm putting it together in a way to create a path of least resistance to add value.
Yeah.
So what are the benefits of that, taking that approach?
Sorry, you mean taking the approach of
taking the approach of trying to be a value add.
Oh, I see.
Versus create from scratch.
Oh, and by the way, when I say that, I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Okay.
Those two categories. I think in a lot of ways, a lot of innovation, call it Ford, for instance, like that is innovation.
He didn't
that is
invent
tech.
the car,
right? Exactly. So it's like,
or did he? Was it the German?
Like you always, yeah. Exactly.
Was it the Germans? Did they invent the cars first?
No.
Or was he the assembly line that he invented?
Yeah,
I might be getting my facts.
This, but like
I might be getting my facts backwards. Typical American. It was us. We did everything.
Yeah. What did I say?
We're talking about two things not being exclusively.
Oh yeah. I don't think mutually exclusive. I think when you zoom out and you look at what the concept of technology and innovation is, I think across the spectrum is just doing something different that, taking something. I think all technology stems from previous technology in some form, right? So whether it's, for instance, using your same analogy, like the iPhone from Steve Jobs, he didn't create the specific components, but he kind of took what was before and kind of kept elevating, right? So just on that, I don't think they're completely mutually exclusive.
Well, they talk about that in the War of Art, right? And it's this idea of we're always stealing, and I think that like nothing's true. Like everything that exists today was inspired by something else.
Yeah.
Like I think like anything that's in us that's an original quote unquote thought.
Yeah.
Is in there because of our influences from around the world, whether we're aware of it or not.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I think everything is stolen and just repurposed.
Yeah.
Right. Like so you're in this world of finance, you're in this world of seeing other businesses, continuing your education by studying the numbers and things like this. When did the first idea for EatMise come into your head?
In the pandemic, 2020.
What happened? What made you think? Like when did the light bulb go off?
So, I think it was probably mid 2020, and it was really two sides of the story. Again, I was looking at the world. Again, the world was on fire. Everyone was suffering in their own way. And I realized just with the restaurant industry, like there's something fundamental we really needed to do there. I really felt it, and I really felt like there's a solution that can be solved there. And then the other side, though, is just being a diner in New York City at home 7 days a week. Like, what do you eat?
Right.
Right? And I think, being in New York for so long, there's kind of two sides of the spectrum, right? There's ordering from DoorDash and Uber Eats, which can be very costly, doesn't travel well, unhealthy, or what I would characterize as cooking from scratch. And that includes these meal kit options like Blue Apron and HelloFresh and things like that. And the issue with that is it takes forever to cook, right? If you're busy, HelloFresh, it comes with like a potato, a cucumber. It takes an hour to cook, hour and a half to cook. It may not taste good. So I felt like there has to be something in the middle, right? And I think, so to answer your question, it was very much just like two-sided, both restaurant and diner issue, where it's like there's got to be kind of a win-win solution here.
Right. So I'm assuming you saw that when the pandemic hit in March, restaurants to get creative said, well, I can turn my place into a bodega. I can do meal delivery but like there was this whole thing that broke out, like this whole like segment that was kind of created where people were like, well, I can have a subscription model where like I send the ingredients like once a week or multiple times a week and you can cook from home.
Yeah.
And at that time you're probably thinking there isn't a platform that exists solely to create a path of least resistance for this one thing.
Yeah.
So from the time that you recognize that there was a gap in the market, a problem that needed fixing to solution, how much time elapsed?
Between thinking there's a problem to executing?
Identifying the problem and creating a solution.
Oh, it was pretty instant. And when I mean instant, more like, hey, let's get to work.
Yeah.
Let's start thinking about this, right? Obviously, there's a whole process with like fundraising and all that, but it's really just digging into it to see, is this viable? Does it make sense? And what I saw at that point in time was, again, you mentioned it, restaurants are trying everything, right? And one of them was this meal kit idea, right? And a lot of restaurants were doing that. And some competitors also had the same idea, like restaurant meal kits. And what we realized very quickly was that, from my opinion, the only way to make this succeed at scale for the entire industry was they had to have a partner to standardize, call it the user experience, right? The same exact recipe cards, everything takes X amount of time to cook. It's all 2 servings. It's because a lot of the restaurants, it's like, oh, let me do 8 servings of this. It'll ship in 3 days, and it's and the recipe cards looks like crap or something like that, right? And we realized to get that repeat user experience for the restaurants to succeed as a whole, they needed someone to partner and standardize that.
Standard to create habits.
Exactly, standard the user experience. So I know as a customer, it's the same exact recipe card, same exact experience. Next.
You can anticipate what the experience is.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the other big thing that we realized, which we can kind of get into later, is I think there's a really big cost savings approach with what we have, because uncooked food you don't have to deliver right away. So because of that, we, compared to like Uber Eats or DoorDash, we can do a lot more deliveries per hour because we batch deliver all at once. And so what happens is the marginal cost of delivery for those guys might be $11, $12. We can get that out to $3, $4.
Wow.
And so that's a really important thing that I also realize is like that works specifically for this uncooked model, where by owning the logistics in-house, we can create cost savings for the entire ecosystem.
Oh, that's really cool. I think now's a good time to take a break, thank our sponsors. We'll come back and kind of paint the big picture from like A to Z, like how EatMise works. And you already dove into some of the details, but we'll break that down even further.
Cool.
We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that right now, Restaurant Systems Pro is offering a no strings attached 60-day trial that will help you improve your systems, increase your profit, and find better work-life balance. All you have to do is click the link below.
All right, we're back. You kind of started getting into like, I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start, but I am kind of curious. I want to know how it works. I want to know the kind of the story of like from inception to like let's do this thing. Like when did it get to market? Like what's the story? So let's start there, and like then we can talk about what EatMise is today and how it works and paint that big picture. So like you have this idea. When does like the first restaurant sign up to use your services?
Oh, that's a fun story. 'Cause, I mean, the funny thing is about the challenges of building what we're building is it's a marketplace. So there's always a chicken or the egg issue. How do you get restaurants without customers, and how do you get customers without restaurants, right? And that's like the cold start problem that's very difficult for what we're doing. To answer your question, how the first restaurant, it was just like any other founder story, just me, Instagram DMing random restaurants, me walking around. I live Midtown West, just walking around to restaurants like, hey, like, have this idea. What do you think? And just kind of really pounding the door. I would say at that point in time, people were more receptive because, the industry was struggling a fair amount.
Yeah.
right? So I think they were
looking for solutions.
They were looking for solutions, and they saw how serious we were about it and the vision that we had, and that we weren't, we were very thoughtful about it. So, don't get me wrong, it took a lot of, pounding on doors, but we fortunately finagled our way into getting some restaurants on board.
Yeah, and it helps to drop. Hey, I had a 4.0. At,
yeah, I don't know if they
Colgate,
cared about
Columbia. which one was that?
I'm not sure they cared about that, but yeah,
it helps. So you're out there, you're knocking on doors. For you, it sounds like the solution was the restaurant first. Get restaurants to sign up, and then the consumer will come.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't. Without a product, we didn't even, we couldn't even sell anything to consumers.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, what about data? Are you another one of these third parties that like keeps all the data and like doesn't share that information with the restaurants?
No. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. If anything, we've used data to help our restaurant partners. So like just for instance, like one of our restaurant partners, like we realized that through our data, we saw that a lot of people wanted quote unquote healthier cuisine, healthier dishes, right? Protein, veggie. And we saw that they wanted it within a certain price range. So we gave that data to an existing restaurant, and they said, hey, let me create this new menu item that I already have, I already have ingredients for. Let me create it, and then let me try selling it. Immediately when they did that, sales went up, and they ended up just adding that menu item to their existing menu. And so, and I think what's cool, you mentioned data. I think what's cool about what we have is like, we have cooking level data. Like what ingredients do people like? What time frame do they like cooking? So it's a different type of data that's a little bit more granular that I think has a lot of potential to help our restaurant partners.
So the first thing you notice is that when people were cooking from home, the things that they were interested in was protein and vegetables. Probably because those are the two hardest things to cook from scratch if you don't know what you're doing. Like it's not easy to cook meat. Like you really need to get good at understanding how like to cook the inside to a certain temperature and like not to burn the outside. So like that's probably when people are going out, they're like, and they can't do that. Now they have to eat at home. This is probably like a pain point. Like I want to eat healthy, but I never taught myself how to do that.
Yeah. It's very much a healthy thing.
Yeah.
I would say, I think as now we're thinking about kind of getting repeat orders up and making sure our restaurants can benefit. A lot of it is, health, quote unquote, healthy dishes.
Right.
And the other thing I would say is, people like cooking a lot of different type of unique cuisines. For instance, the Asian segment is very popular because I think it's hard for people to cook Thai food, right, from home. And what ingredients do I need? Do I, buy an entire jar of palm sugar for one pad Thai? Like
also how to eat Thai food is a different thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
That sounds kind of silly. You put it in your mouth. That's how you eat it. But like it's like meant to be eaten a certain way.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like like they put everything out and then you gotta like combine it like at your mouth. Like put it together.
Yeah.
It's not intuitive.
Yeah.
So I'm only saying this because I just interviewed Chef Knock from I'm gonna say her I can't say her restaurant correctly. I'm gonna screw it up, but it's in Philadelphia. She just won James Beard. And when she was talking about this, like she was like people don't know how to eat Thai food, so you have to go to the table and literally like almost like a child, like help them like prepare their meal, like the table side, and show them how it's done.
Yeah.
And then but that whole thing is an experience.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. So
Yeah.
You also were talking about this data. You're getting data on when people like to cook and when they want it delivered. But like, what else is like helpful information that you're finding out?
I mean, I think there's just a lot of information that we have, and it's just a question of how we have allergen data.
Yeah.
Right. We have cook time data. We have, so some people there's a myriad of different types of kind of cooking. So for instance, like one of the debates they had is, do we lean more into convenience where everything takes 10, 15 minutes to cook, or do people want kind of a full cooking experience where it's more, and we found out that through data, it's like the former, like people are lazy and they want convenience and it's more about fast, right? So that's one type of data. And then so like cooking times, again, allergens, I think cooking equipment, right? Like we kind of had to go through data and say like, okay, what kind of cooking equipment that people usually have, or what kind of stuff translates from a commercial kitchen to a residential kitchen, right? Because that's also an entirely different process for a lot of folks that we have to, how do we translate from like a wok to someone that may not have a wok at home, right? Something like that. So, or also, I mean, data just on the user experience and just understanding, what recipe language people like, right? Because I think that was a whole other thing that we had to discover. Like, what is the optimal way to to
Instructions.
it was a whole art to that. Yeah.
So I kind of want to unpackage the story before like talking about what EatMise looks like today and like how it's evolved and what that is. But like, so you hit the roads, you're knocking on doors, you're trying to get restaurants to sign up. At what point do you have like a substantial number of restaurants signed up? Like when do people start joining EatMe's website, the consumers, to find these restaurants? Like when did you get to that point?
Yeah, good question. I think again, you kind of have to create a large enough menu for people to be interested in. We probably started with like as few as like call it 5 to 10 restaurants, and you can get 3 to 5 dishes each on that. And what we did was just kind of doing that to understand proof of concept and understand there's a demand for this. What type of restaurants should we be on? What types of dishes? And kind of just really fine tuning that kind of the nitty gritty of that model. And I think the second phase of what we realize is, and this is kind of a little bit of a pivot, or divergence, is we realized that to get this to really work, we need to create a kind of a subscription type of model or to get repeat orders. But in order to do that, for someone to subscribe to your service, you need a larger menu for them to be like, okay, well, I'm okay. So then that's kind of the next leg of the number of restaurants. So to be honest, I think it's been a very difficult balancing act because, again, with the marketplace that you're starting from scratch, you kind of have to balance growth of customers with growth of restaurants and make sure restaurants have enough volume when they sign up and customers have enough options. And you're kind of always when you're still building, you're always kind of balancing back and forth, and it's very fun. It's very fun challenge.
So I'll be honest, it was the fact that I saw this as a subscription model that really appealed to me, because one of the things I'm learning, one of the things I'm trying to change about the industry is the business model. And I think that the business model is outdated and old and not really serving us well. I think that if you can create a business that has like, your storefront, like your pickup, your takeout, your dine in, but if that is just the head of your funnel, right? If you're talking about like a click funnel, and what a click funnel is it's a, there's your audience, your followers, the people who know, like, and trust you, but ultimately there's like that first level of engagement, right? And then there's like, okay, they like me so much that they want to hire me for their catering. That's level 2, right? Because that's better margins. That's a better relationship. But ultimately, I think what we should be trying to do is get people from becoming first-time customers to buying into our continuity program. Our reoccurring revenue, our subscription models, whether that be fully prepared for you, delivered once, like 2-3 times a week, and we just drop it off, or if it's a thing where it's like, hey, like the chef is going to teach you how to cook, that you need to record, the process of you like making that recipe, and then there's a menu card to go along with it, or maybe it's live cooking classes or something like that. Whatever it is, there's got to be something that is a higher ticket or at least reoccurring. So you, even when times are slow, you still got money coming. Right?
100%.
What's going through your mind as I'm sharing this?
I think you're spot on. I think just even zooming out outside of the restaurant industry, I think subscriptions I think there's definitely subscription fatigue for a lot of consumers. But I think in general, we are kind of moving towards that model. And, there's a famous concept that they say, like the cost of, how do I say it? The value you get from making your existing customers happy is, overcomes the cost that it takes to acquire a new customer. Right. So it makes more sense just as a business to focus on finding existing customers and making them happy and making them buy over and over. So I think that's spot on. And I think for us, what we realize is, one of the things that we realize is food, for instance, it's a daily, weekly activity, right? And so we actually had people, so we actually started as a one-time purchase option, meaning that you order one, you get it. And what we found with people, there's like, hey, you know what? I'd love it if you could remind me to order. You know what? I'd love for you to tell me what I should eat. Oh, hey, I'd love to do it on a weekly basis. And more, we got these questions and this feedback. We're like, wait a minute, you want a subscription? So through that, we realized, you know what, this type of product, this is what we're doing. They want a subscription. So we launched a subscription, and knock on wood, there's been really great feedback about it.
How long ago did you start that subscription model? How long into the process? If you
guys... we actually did a couple different types of iterations. And our most recent iteration actually was earlier this year. And where The way we do it is, hey, different from other kind of food subscriptions out there where you have to buy 8 servings per week and you get shipped across the warehouse. You have to cancel 5 days in advance and all that. And it's shipped in a box with a lot of ice. We basically just do, hey, you can just do one a week. You can cancel whenever you want the night before. You can just get one from your favorite restaurant tomorrow, right? So our business model, I think, and our logistics model makes it so it's very flexible.
Right.
So there's a lot more convenience that the consumer
Dude,
gets.
You know, if I lived in New York, and if you're listening to this and you're in New York or a metropolitan area, I would sign up for EatMise today. I would start as a kind of like a ghost kitchen, right? Where all you're doing is just delivering meal prep to people, right? And it would be a pizza concept where all I do is manage the dough. I just manage a culture. And for the thousands of people who live in every city who own an Uni pizza oven right now, but don't want to babysit the culture or like have a bunch of ingredients, like just send like the bread, the dough. How many doughs do you want? And how many toppings do you need for each? Like, and here's some creative toppings, right?
Yeah.
How easy would that be?
Yeah.
How easy would
I'm
that
with you,
be?
man. I'm with you, Eric.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
like all you got to do is just like make the people who like cooking pizza and saying that they're pizza oven owners, but don't want the extra work of keeping pizza dough alive.
Yeah.
Right? Feeding the culture and all this stuff. Well, we got that. All you got to do is just tell us what you want. We'll send it to you. Like,
yeah.
like,
I'm glad you get it, man. I mean,
yeah.
well, I mean, I think what's really cool about this again is it actually makes sense for both sides. Like me as a diner at home, like I would love to have someone that helps me figure out the right ingredients and procure the ingredients and prep the ingredients in a way that I don't know how to and they do. And I basically just do the fun parts of cooking, right? I take it, I put it into a frying pan. I kind of, it takes me 10 minutes. Or pizza, I do the fun parts. You've already prepped everything for me. So really becomes this win-win where you kind of outsource, at least from my perspective, the difficult parts of cooking and even more not as fun parts to the professionals. And then we get to do the fun parts and
Right.
reap the benefits. So
Yeah, that's cool, man. You got me thinking about I might go home and start a business when I get back. I don't know if there's enough pizza ovens in New Hampshire. So now that we kind of understand like the how you got here and we kind of understand like, well, what has the evolution been? I don't know if we really dove into the evolution of what EatMise looks like now.
Yeah, I think I touched on it a little bit. The original idea was, hey, can we just create a model where you just order one time, right? And what we realized was because we wanted to take advantage, I think I alluded to it earlier, cost savings. The only way you can have real cost savings from a delivery standpoint is you get orders. It's not instantaneous ordering, right? Because again, with DoorDash and Reats, you order, you get it right away, so it's very costly to deliver that, right? Because there's a time component. So the reason I say that is because when we realized the way we were doing it, people again wanted a subscription. So we kind of evolved and changed to 2 or 3 different types of subscriptions until we got to the one that we have now. So on the product side, there's that. I think on the dish side, we tested a lot of different types of dishes. Are we supposed to go more premium, where you get this cooking experience? Or are you supposed to go more convenient? What price point makes sense? What types of dishes? And again, we've kind of settled into this, hey, you know what? To get repeat buyers, we want to do, within this price range, a little bit more healthy, these types of cuisines and things like that. And then I would say the last component of this is just growth, right? Because for any consumer tech startup now, it's all about how do you grow efficiently, and testing different growth channels like Meta, Facebook, Google, all the way to what we're doing now, an ambassador program, where we're literally hiring people to sell and to kind of spread the word about our subscriptions. And so there's been a lot of evolution. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's a lot of different pieces kind of moving together.
Yeah. So if I go to eatmise.com, I get brought to eatmise.com/shop. From there, it shows me all the different, actually, I don't know why it brought me to that page. I just wanted to go to eatmise.com. From there, it shows me, your landing page. I noticed that you're working with a meatball shop. They're a past guest in the show. You also have Luke's Lobster. Did I see that?
Luke's Lobster, yeah.
Yeah, and there's somebody who I want to be a guest on the show.
Yeah.
So, I'm instantly going, okay, there's some good brands out here that see the value in this. So from there, you see shop meal kits at the top restaurants. if I'm a restaurant owner, I'm clicking on restaurants, I'm
Mhm.
assuming, right? That's me. Okay. So what does the process of going from, like, if I want to sign up for this,
Yeah.
like, what's that process look like? Like, are there qualifications? Like,
Yeah.
what can I expect if you have my attention right
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I would say one of our value props to the consumer is that we're give them a curated menu, right? And so when they eat with this, they can trust that it's good food, right? Because it's a subscription process. So just from that perspective, we have been selective about the types of restaurants we want to bring on because we want to uphold kind of a reputation for our customers, right? I would say the second thing is to answer your question from an onboarding standpoint, it's very quick. I think if there's an agreement, then what we usually do is we discuss with a restaurant the data that we have about what dishes people want. We look at their menu and we'll say, hey, you know what? Let's onboard, let's call it 5 dishes that we think would do really well for you. Right. And that's, again, coming back to the data that we have on the number of orders and kind of dishes that we've had. And through that, it's very much a white glove service. Then we have a team basically that comes in and does photo shoots of the dishes. We take the ingredients back and we create the recipe cards for all the restaurants. And again, because we want to do it in a standardized way, and we have the expertise to make it good. So,
well, yeah. How do you know how to make recipe cards when you're not there? Like, do you work with the chef to make that recipe card?
Yeah. So we have a team that breaks it down with the chef, and I think a lot of it, right? The chef will say, "Hey, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this, you have to do that," and every chef is different, and every restaurant's different, and our job is to take that kind of array of what people may say and it could be 20 steps to 2 steps or a lot of details, little details, etc., and then transform it through this funnel into a standard UX for the customer, right? So that's our job.
What about video?
So there are certain dishes that we do videos on to show them how to. So what happens is on our recipe card there's a QR code, so then you can kind of pop up and watch a video of how they're cooking it.
Now, is the chef doing that or are you guys doing that?
It depends case by case, but the idea is to make it instructional for the customer. Oftentimes it's the chef.
Got it.
That we do that with.
So just to summarize, make sure I got it right. I go to EatMise.com. I click on I'm assuming actually I clicked on restaurants and I was expecting it to be like a sales page for restaurants.
Oh, I see.
But it's a list of all the restaurants you work with.
Yeah.
At the very bottom is where I went next, and I'm assuming now that you would click on how it works.
For the consumer side,
become a new restaurant. Sorry.
Yeah, that might be a little outdated, but I would say actually there's not that much. We're very much how do I say it? If you're a restaurant, contact us,
Yeah,
and we'll let you know how it works.
I don't know if you want me to read what happens when I
Yeah,
click
exactly.
They are working on the back end now, but there is a link that says become a restaurant partner. So right now, if I did want to do this, it's what's the best? Is there a phone number to call?
Yeah, honestly, you can just email me.
What's your email?
Rob, R-O-B, at eatmise.com. So ROB at EATMISE.com.
Got it.
And reach out to me, reach out to us, and we'll get back to you and we'll figure it out. Yeah.
And then from there, you would, if you feel like there's a good partnership opportunity, you look at the menu, you make suggestions, maybe suggest adding something to the menu that might be more appropriate for the at-home consumer.
Yeah, exactly.
You work on the recipe cards, you get the product uploaded to the internet, and then it's on the marketplace.
Yeah.
How many current markets are you in right now?
So right now we're just in New York City and focus on, and primarily in Manhattan and then a little bit in LIC, and we're going to be expanding soon. But the idea actually is, if you look at just traditional food delivery, they do about, I would say, $5 billion of gross order volume in just New York City. So it's just a massive market for us that in and of itself, that there's a lot of wood for us to chop there.
I mean, New York's great for that. It's to test marketplaces.
Yeah,
where it's saturated enough where there's a critical mass of people in one spot where you can treat it like a big world, but it's still a small world.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, what are some other markets that you're interested in? I'm assuming you're having success.
Yeah. I mean, the idea actually is obviously after New York, it's just a question of the right places with the right restaurant culture, the right kind of population density, and whether it's Boston, Philly, San Francisco, Chicago, like there's a short list of places that we think makes a lot of sense for this.
I think Los Angeles would do well.
Yeah.
It's a little bit bigger of a footprint, but there's just density.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, for like,
For sure.
I don't know how many square miles.
Yeah.
Chicago's same situation. It's not like New York where New York is like a vertical city. It's
Right,
not that
right.
big of a footprint, but there's just so much density.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
do you have plans to roll out in other cities right now, or are you just in New York?
We do, but I think there's so much exciting things that we want to do in New York. That yeah.
What do you want to do in New York to feel like you're ready to move on beyond New York?
I think so. Again, I think we've done a really good job in Manhattan, but Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and all of New York City. And I think there's a question that we're trying to figure out operationally. Like the thing that we're really excited about is delivering, call it, from Brooklyn to Manhattan, right? Giving people, or vice versa, people in Brooklyn don't have access to Manhattan restaurants, and DoorDash and Uber can't do that, right? Because again, it costs too much to deliver. It's difficult, and we have an advantage.
God forbid
right?
There's traffic.
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
Don't order your delivery at 5 o'clock and expect it within an hour.
Yeah, exactly. So there's kind of these really exciting things we can do from a logistical standpoint that that we're excited about. Yeah.
How many consumers do you have right now? Did you already answer that question? How many
No, I would in the thousands.
in the thousands?
Yeah.
Nice. How many meals are you or delivering on average a night?
It really depends, but I would say around 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive for, I would say, 2 years in business. Because like the first year, right, 2020, you're just like trying to figure.
I mean,
it
that
out.
was just me in Photoshop, like
yeah.
making up recipe cards.
Yeah, man,
like,
that's impressive.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So I am kind of curious about the relationship. Like, who owns the relationship at the end of the day?
with the
Like,
restaurants.
Yeah, the consumer. Like, who owns the relationship with the consumer?
Oh, you mean us versus the restaurant?
Right.
So I would say we're the point of contact. But I would say part of that is just to shield restaurants from having to deal with that.
Right.
Right. So if there's a consumer complaint about this meal or that meal, or whatever, they come to us and then we coordinate with the restaurants.
Right.
Right. And I think it's a little bit more, that's the reasoning behind it. Yeah.
Is there?
But at the same time, we do all the orders and customer data, we give it to our restaurants.
Yeah.
So they see all the customers that are ordering with their email, phone number,
That's
and everything.
huge.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
I see there, like, from a restaurateur perspective, if I'm putting myself in the restaurateur's position, I would want people to come to my website and find a link to order their meal kit. But that would redirect to EatMise.
Yeah. We have some restaurants that do that. Yeah.
So, like, in my mind, you want the consumer to have a relationship with you, and then you're outsourcing this logistical side of that. Like, you're just a third party. Like, yeah, like, this is what we do, and this third party, like, we're not the credit card processing machine when you're using our POS. We go to Toast for that, or to whatever POS system we use, right? If you want this at-home experience, like, we have our at-home experience partner, EatMise.
Right.
You go to our website. We have a page that you can go to, which redirects to EatMise, and then you go through the logistics of ordering all that. But I feel like, I don't know, like, I mean, what's going through your mind as I'm sharing this?
Yeah. I think so. We definitely have restaurant partners that put us on their website that then direct to us.
I guess, yeah. What are those best practices as far as, like, how to engage? Like, what does your relationship with the restaurant look like?
I mean, it's very much a partnership.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is just on your topic from the marketing standpoint, we're obviously going out with our marketing, kind of finding consumers, and we leverage the restaurant's brands for that. But similarly, the restaurants kind of co-market with us as well, where there's certain restaurants that will, have us go through their email blast or social, or we'll go in person and kind of share what we are to their customers. So it's very much a co-marketing and kind of partnership for both of us. The question is, can we create a structure where it's a win-win for both sides? And we're seeing that.
Are you familiar with ClickFunnels?
Generally speaking, but
I just feel like this is such a piece of a puzzle. I've been aware of ClickFunnels for at least 4 or 5 years now, but it's this idea of getting people, like, you have this audience, right? And it's getting them from being an audience to, like, an entry level relationship where there's some type of continuity. But I think that it within the ClickFunnels model, they teach this linchpin model, essentially, where, like, the money they're making from the product, maybe that product is like your sales from, like, your day-to-day, like, in-store 4 walls, like, numbers, right?
Yeah.
you take that money to promote and to build the continuity program where you have reoccurring revenue and different tiers of reoccurring revenue.
Yeah.
And I feel like because the world of the world of restaurants is increasingly becoming digitized, and like there's like this blending of happening where like our marketplace is no longer the four walls of our, like it's as far as we can reach and as far as we can get our food with the tools at our disposal. Right? I just feel like there's this way of building out this model through partnerships like EatMise, where you're getting people to buy into like different tiers of reoccurring revenue.
Yeah.
And I just see this being such a low hanging fruit thing to do.
Yeah.
Where like you're just like, okay, it's 3:00. Like let's how many prep meals do we have to send out today?
Yeah.
Like, just adding that to like your prep list.
Yeah.
You know? And like boom, like how much more revenue is that? Like who's the most successful with your model right now?
In terms of restaurant partners?
Yeah, like who's I know you probably can't share how much money they're making from this.
Yeah, I would say without kind of naming any names, there are certain, I would say, Asian restaurants that do really well. And I think again, there's something about it where people really like cooking it at home because it's difficult for them to cook from scratch. And there's also this, I don't know if I mentioned before, this IKEA effect and Betty Crocker effect, where what we've learned is that when people cook it themselves, they value it a lot more than if they order it from a restaurant, order from delivery. And I think that applies very much so with some of the Asian restaurants.
I think that's why everybody wants to open a restaurant at some point in their life, because that value, that feel of like, I did this for you.
Yeah.
You know, like,
it's funny. We have customers that they're like, hey, I ate this, I cooked it, and I thought it was so good. And then when they go to the restaurant or they order delivery, it's like, oh, wow. It's like you realize that they really value what they cook.
Right.
And I think there's a component there that when people try it, they give us feedback. They're like, wow, this is awesome. Like, I felt like I did this, et cetera, and it was so easy, et cetera. Yeah.
So, like, I guess without, exposing any companies or sharing, like, the numbers of, like, a certain company, like, who's the most is there a success story you can share without getting me too much information that I can figure it out? Or my listeners can figure it out?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely, so for instance, like, I think you hit it spot on, right? And this is a little bit of a tangent to what you're asking, but the way we've created the model is it's very easy for the restaurants to do, right? Where we just give them a list at the beginning of the day, and they, after lunch, they already have a lot of prepped ingredients for a place because they do a lot of the prep in the morning, and they basically just put that into packaging that we provide, and then we just pick it up and we batch deliver. So it's a very, very simple process. So there's definitely certain restaurants that have, been set up well and taken advantage of that. And again, with the right cuisines and the right price points and the right type of dishes, they crush it. And it's just the steady income stream between lunch and dinner.
I could see you guys taking more of like a Goldbelly approach too, where Goldbelly ships the finished product. Yeah. Right. From like these super well-known brands. The idea behind that is like, you grew up in Boston, you want the Boston cream pie that you used to get as a kid, but you live in San Francisco now. You can get it shipped there overnight. Right. But as you guys scale, I could see your logistics scaling to the point where like, hey, like I was at Luke's Lobster and I grew up eating Luke's Lobster for lunch, and now I'm in college in Southern Florida, and I just really want to like make some Luke's Lobster sandwiches, like ship the ingredients. We definitely been looking into that. I think the challenge that we've encountered is how do you do it economically, right? Because when you start shipping stuff with like dried ice across the country in a box, et cetera, like for instance, Goldbelly, I think if you order from them, it may be maybe plus or minus double the cost of if you just order at the restaurant, and we're trying to do it so it's cheaper. Right. Well, but they're also getting it from across the country.
Exactly.
So a ticket to New York City.
Exactly. And so I think there's that element, and I think the other element though with that is, do you get recurring revenue from that, or are these more novelty items? Right? Is it like, hey, let me order this as a special thing for this next week, and what we've been trying to do is create a product that people want to order every single week.
Got it.
Yeah,
I dig that though. That's a much more sustainable model.
Yeah, it's a different model because I think with their model, there's a much more broad reach. right? Nationally, right? And for us, it's like, hey, how do we get a model where it's like we can get repeat buyers every week, and
Right. It's
incorporate
something that you
this
do
into there
as like a gift, as like a birthday gift,
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
it's a special event. Like I'm going to order your favorite.
Exactly,
thing. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
All right, one more quick break to thank our sponsors, and we'll come back to talk about where EatMise is kind of like headed. I think we're already kind of alluding to that, but like, I'm just generally speaking, like what you've learned about the industry as a food business startup.
Yeah, definitely.
We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that right now Restaurant Systems Pro is offering a no strings attached 60-day trial that will help you improve your systems, increase your profit, and find better work-life balance. All you have to do is click the link below.
We're back. Is there anything we haven't discussed yet? Unique selling propositions, unique information that you've been privy to because of the work you're doing that you think my listeners can benefit from, insider perspective on where the industry in general is going and how the world of food is evolving.
That's a big question, my friend.
Where do you want to go?
Like 20 questions in one.
Yeah, like I'm just trying to plant seeds right now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I mean, I think in general the idea, and I see this a lot, with I mean, you're going to be even closer to this than me, but like I feel like because of the pandemic, restaurants have gotten more creative in terms of like, how do I create more out of what we have, right? And that's part of what we're trying to do. And I've seen a lot of different types of new restaurant startups or restaurant ideas about subscriptions or cooking classes or things like that. And I think in general there has been this. And again, I think you'd be closer to this than I am, is this mindset shift in terms of being creative and understanding. And I think for us, the reason why we're so excited about what we're doing with restaurants is because the home cooking market or the food at home market, or whatever you want to call it, is massive, right? We're basically competing with grocery chains, right? We want to help restaurants take advantage of their existing infrastructure to create a new product that can compete and take share from the massive grocery vertical, right? So the idea is not to cannibalize delivery or cannibalize their existing sales. The idea is with this product, can we start taking consumers' wallet away from Whole Foods to restaurants, right? And so I think that's one important thing. I feel like I'm plugging ourselves here, and I don't even know that was your question, but that's the route I'm going. But I think that's one thing. And so, sorry, what was your question again?
The question I really was just an open-ended, like, where, like what are you learning? Like, what are the trends? How can we evolve the industry? And you started to answer with, there's this, you're just trying to help restaurants recognize that there's more value to add value.
Yeah. And I think, we, like, for instance, ghost kitchens, right? That in some ways, I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but in some way that can be beneficial to restaurants. Like in some way that's a threat to restaurants, right? I think, actually, I don't know what your take is on that.
I honestly, I think there's a time and place for ghost kitchens. I don't think that they make sense for everybody. I don't think.
Right.
If I'm opening a restaurant tomorrow, I'm not starting with a brick and mortar. I'm starting with a website and an email, and a list, and pop-ups. I think pop-ups would eventually lead to a ghost kitchen scenario where it's a kitchen only, where I'm doing online ordering only, pickup and delivery only.
Right.
But I think for me, it would start with pop-ups. The whole purpose of the pop-ups would be collecting emails, get a list of 1,000, 2,000 people from my pop-ups, use that list to promote my new hours at my ghost kitchen, generate business, continue to grow the list to the point where I get like 10,000 emails, and then just let cash flow determine growth. Can I afford rent now? And that's where I think I would use a ghost kitchen to like start small and scale over time. In like a city like New York or like bigger cities where it makes sense to have ghost kitchens and more people order out, and I mean, I think it's good if you have a brick and mortar to have a separate line that's just a ghost kitchen, where you're not bogging down your in-store orders and experience. Like you have a whole separate line for that. Like, I think it makes sense for certain things.
For sure.
I'm somebody who also, the reason why I love this industry is for the I'm the guy who drives across the country to sit across the table.
Exactly.
I would not want that ghost kitchen experience
and I think for us, what our vision is, taking restaurants that are kind of brick and mortar that have that face-to-face with customers, and again, instead of looking at, for instance, ghost kitchens in some ways, it lowers the barrier to entry for a lot of new restaurants, right?
Yeah.
To do delivery, et cetera. In some ways, that is a threat to existing brick and mortar restaurants because the barrier to entry is so low. So our idea is, hey, how do we help these existing restaurants get more out of their assets, get more out of their brick and mortar? How do we do the math and
Add more value.
Exactly. And, a third, let's say a third of the cost is real estate, a third of the cost is labor, however you want to calculate it. It's
Right.
like, how do we get more out of that existing cost
How
structure?
do we continue the relationship with our consumer, our guests, if they don't want to leave the house tonight?
Exactly. And I think importantly, the thing that I really wanted to always focus on is without having to increase costs,
Right.
without having them hire all these new people, without having to do all these new things.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about the world we live in today. And this is kind of how I look at technology in general. If you're opening a restaurant tomorrow, you can build all these systems from scratch. You can, hire a programmer, build your own app, do all those things, or you can outsource it to an organization that has spent their existence, their whole reason for being is to solve this problem, and plug it into your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the better option.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny. Like, it's actually a really interesting question because I think with any kind of restaurant aggregator or restaurant partner, the question always is, hey, can the individual restaurant do this better, or does it make sense for a partner to do this? And I think with us, what we realize is from not only a cost perspective and like centralizing costs and centralizing data, and it makes sense for there to be a centralized unit that takes care of a lot of the marketing, takes care of a lot of logistics, because it becomes a true win-win for everybody. Right. And so we kind of wanted to do the heavy work in the lift to get the answers and get the solutions and create a structure to have that ongoing feedback that then our restaurant partners can benefit from.
Right.
And there's a win-win.
Well, here's something that I don't know came out of today's conversation. Like, what have you heard from your restaurant partners in terms of people who were doing meal kits before EatMise and then they found EatMise and went to outsourcing it? What has the feedback been in terms of like
from a consumer standpoint?
No, from a restaurant owner standpoint. So like, hey, I was already doing meal kits.
Yeah.
And I was doing all the logistics. I was taking all the requests. I was personally delivering them.
Yeah.
To go from that all in-house from scratch, A to Z, recipe cards, videos, everything.
Yeah.
To outsourcing to EatMise.
I think it's funny you asked that. We had the restaurants that have tried it before by themselves, when they see us, they're like, we 100% recognize how difficult it is what you're doing, right? And I think it's because when you really get into that business, it's like the recipe cards, the delivery, how do you keep costs low? How do you create a consistent offering? How do you get repeat buyers? Like, all that is stuff that we do. So kind of what I alluded to earlier, we're very much a white glove service, not only for the restaurants, but also it just makes sense because we have the data, we have the know-how, we have the process in place. So I think to answer your question, just thinking about one example of a restaurant, they without naming names, they're pretty successful, very successful restaurant. They've done and they've tried meal kits, and they came to us and like, hey, we recognize what you're doing here. We understand how hard it is, and then we see the vision. So we're on board. And we've gotten a couple folks like that, and knock on wood, they've been very satisfied partners. So yeah,
that's cool. I just had another idea while you're talking, like, for a business. Have you had anybody who their job is, say they just have like this like cooking class where they have a deal with EatMise where like every Friday they just get like 50 orders of a different restaurant in the city every week, and then they have a group of people that come together and just cook, like a date night type thing.
Interesting.
We're
Great
like,
idea. We
right?
haven't done that yet.
Dude, I'm filled with these. Where like your job is literally just taking an order.
Yeah.
And then what you're doing is you're charging, like, you're paying out the restaurant and the EatMise, but then what you're doing is creating an experience, like a date night or like cooking classes or something like that.
Yeah, we've
all the prep is done for you, and you just bring all the ingredients.
We've done events. So we've done events where we've had a group of people where they come to a place and they pre-order kits and then they just cook for each other, and it's kind of like almost like a Tupperware party.
Right.
And we've done that, but we haven't yet kind of created a repeat structure like
Right.
you're implying. But
So I think what's going through my mind is that when there's services that exist like this, there's whole new business models, not just like restaurants having another channel of revenue, but like an entrepreneur going like, I'm gonna let all the restaurants do all the hard part,
yeah,
storing the food, prepping the food, then I'm gonna rent out the space and just have clients where we just cook all of this, like we just order from a different restaurant. Like
yeah.
that's a whole new segment. Right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I think there's a lot of really exciting things that, with this model, I think to your point, lead into a lot of different directions.
Right. You can have fun with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So like right now, the people that are listening to this are all over the world. California is my most downloaded state, followed by, I want to say New York and like Florida and like Chicago is like in that order or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So the majority of the people listening to this can't use EatMise today.
Got it.
So for all those other people who are listening to this and thinking to themselves, oh, damn it. What's the message for those people?
We're coming soon. We'll be there soon. We'll be there soon.
It's not go do this in a different city.
No. I don't want any copycats. I don't want to.
You might regret this.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. You know what? I don't know about that. Yeah.
I mean, but it does get people thinking creatively.
For sure. Yeah.
And like, I think that's one cool thing that, yes, there is your service, but at the same time, like, how can you turn this industry upside down?
Yeah.
Like, and maybe it's not the same business model as EatMise, but something like use this as inspiration to see the pieces of the puzzle that are on the table right now, and to maybe put them together in a way that
100%
might be a little abstract, but you know, there's opportunity.
100%. And
Yeah.
I think my perception is it's still fairly. I think we've seen a lot of restaurant innovation and restaurant tech innovation, obviously, in the last couple of years. And I think there's still a lot to go, right? And I think one of the things that I actually asked myself during the pandemic was, in a very draconian scenario, right, where we see a lot of other industries where you see consolidation because there's cost savings, et cetera. Like, can we be in a world where we just all eat from Chipotle and McDonald's and Sweet because they have centralization costs, they bring costs low, et cetera. And what I realize it's just impossible because the fabric of our societies are all driven by the mom and pop restaurants with different, cultures, different, personalities, et cetera. And there's just no way we're going to go to a world where we're not going to have, all these restaurants, right? So, and because of that, then you realize that there's just inherent disadvantages from a cost structure because you can't scale, right? Because you have small individual mom and pop. So then because of that, then it makes sense for aggregators and partners to come in to help them extract more value from what they have.
Right.
So what I think about it is to kind of go back to the beginning is I think there's so much that we can still do in the restaurant world, and create so much more value because there's so much that the restaurant is doing. Like for me as a diner, like I can take it. They can help me. So
right.
Yeah.
What do you think the future of the hospitality, food and beverage, the future of food in general? What does that look like in your eyes?
I think in general, like in kind of tackling on what I was saying before, is I think, and I saw this in the pandemic, and you've kind of alluded to this, is how do we extract more value, and how do we strengthen the bond between the restaurant and the diner, right? And I think there's obviously, very important in restaurant, in-person interaction and kind of that hospitality, but you mentioned it, maybe like cooking classes, maybe like the meal kits that we're doing, right? I think there's just so much that can be done, but there's the sky's the limit.
Right. It's interesting. I think that to your point, helping restaurants see that there's more value, no pun intended, that's being left on the table,
Yeah.
I think what you're going to see is a diversification of the restaurant industry. I don't think the traditional restaurant's going away where people want to go eat out and have an experience, socialize. If anything, I think that as we march into the future, as the world of technology is advancing, the other technology that's advancing, science and understanding of human beings and us and how we work. And the truth of the matter is the world we live in right now is very unhuman. Yeah. And we're moving in a very not team human way.
Agree.
You know? So
Agree, yeah.
I think it's only a matter of time before we realize that you can't force people into technology.
100%. Yeah.
Like technology's advancing at an exponential rate. Moore's law,
Yep.
right? But humans aren't evolving at an exponential rate.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could argue that human culture evolves exponentially, but at the end of the day, we're still humans and we're still pack animals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that we're just now starting, because it's never been an issue where we didn't need each other. Like we literally don't need each other today.
Yeah.
Like we've gotten to a point where like we relied on family, church, and community.
Yeah.
And now we rely on government, market, and like what's the other one? There's a third one there. Government, market, and something else. Like we don't need each other.
Yeah.
Like we could break away from our community and our family tomorrow and we're okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But are we?
No.
Exactly.
We're not.
So I think we're just starting to realize that now. And I think that our salvation is in kind of choosing to choose the path of being human.
Agreed.
You know, which means doing human things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which like
100%.
And when I say that, I mean like relationships, being across the table from people, being in person, being seen, being valued.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Yeah.
And I think the restaurant industry is like
pivotal.
Yeah.
Pivotal for that. I mean, I remember my first investment deck from a couple years ago. Actually, I don't know if it was in there, but I really felt like so many of the important moments that have happened in my life with the people that I care and love about happened in restaurants, right? It's just kind of, I think everyone thinks like this, so I'm not that unique. And especially living in New York for so long, I think restaurants hold a special place in my heart. I grew up in Taiwan also, and really great food and restaurant culture there. But just in general, you just realize, or I realized that like so much of my happy memories revolved around restaurants and being in restaurants. Right. Yeah. And food and sharing food with loved ones. And,
right.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, your best, it's funny. It's like that, like the best pizza in town or like the best Chinese food in town, or like, it's all based off of what your first interpretation of that was.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah. 100%.
Because you tie those memories to it and that feeling of security and happiness.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
So I think that the future of the industry is going to be kind of like, I think you're going to see brands that have multiple touch points with their consumer.
100%. Yeah.
Do you want to come in and we'll provide a more hands-on A to Z experience for you? Do you want us to do catering for you? We'll come to you and help you host this party or whatever. Do you want us just to send you 5 meals and you can cook it at home yourself? Do you want to order out?
Yeah.
Do you like whatever it is? Do you want to pick it up? Do you want delivery? Like wherever you are, we'll meet you there.
Yeah. And
then you just provide options.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then partner with the tools and services to facilitate those options.
Yeah. 100%.
And diversify.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the future.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
And I think it's going to be like, you're going to have your food partners. Where like, here's this restaurant group that owns 10 restaurants, and I can buy into the restaurant group, like, I don't know, $1,000 a month credit.
Yeah.
That I just pay $1,000 a month, and I can spend that money through all these different verticals.
Yeah.
Within all these different concepts.
Yeah.
And I think that's how people have to start looking at this.
Yeah. I mean, just zooming out, like, we all eat every day. So the addressable market is massive. So the question is, like, how do restaurants take more of that share?
Right.
Right. And I think restaurants, compared to grocery stores or whatever the competitor kind of food companies have a lot of inherent advantages that can be taken advantage of, and we can pass those onto the customer. So fundamentally and philosophically, I think there's so much opportunity for restaurants to take more share.
Yeah. What haven't we discussed today?
Oh man, we could talk for hours. My friend. No, man, I think you did a pretty good job covering a lot of ground.
Thank you very much. I do love just kind of getting outside of the traditional restaurant tour interview to kind of learn about what else is out there. I see that I'm not the first person to cover EatMise. I know Eater got you, Thrillist got you. You got some good coverage. I think you're doing some cool stuff, man, and I'm excited to see you grow.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, so I am trying to get out of the way in terms of who I make an example of. Obviously, I still pay attention to my email. I do like to connect with outside the box concepts, but who do you think I should talk to? Who do you admire in this industry, whether it's a restaurant or a a technology or service that exists to restaurants that's changing the game, who do you think I should talk to?
Yeah, one restaurant partner, you mentioned restaurant partner that comes to mind actually is this restaurant called 8282.
Okay.
In Lower East Side. It's kind of a new age Korean concept. They actually just got on the Michelin Guide.
Oh, cool.
But the owner, G, so she's Korean American, and she's really cool concepts that she's doing with her for products that is kind of this, I don't want to butcher it because I feel like I would say, but it's like this really great dishes that are Korean but very new age. And the reason I mention her is she's very entrepreneurial in the way that she thinks in terms of understanding, she's what the future is. That's why, for instance, for instance, in Korea, meal kits are huge.
Yeah.
It's actually a huge thing there. And so she saw that. She saw what we were doing. She signed on. So the reason I mentioned her is because I think she's one of the restaurant owners that thinks outside the box and thinks about the future.
Asia's ahead of the curve in a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when it comes to, I think, when it comes to having a critical amount of people living close to each other, they've been kind of there longer.
Yeah.
So like they were also way ahead of us with meal delivery too, because that was an issue for a longer period of time.
Yeah, 100%.
So I mean, if you want some innovation, look to just Asia.
Yeah,
They're
for sure.
solving problems before us.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. What was her name again? G?
G.
G
Kim, yeah.
G Kim from 82 or 8282.
8282, yeah.
Look out, I'm coming after you. I'd love to get you on the show. And she's based here in Manhattan?
Manhattan, yeah.
Cool. I don't know if I'll be able to get you on this trip. We'll see what we can do. I would love to get her on the show. And how can we connect with you? You already mentioned your email once, but maybe echo that one more time.
Yeah, so feel free to reach out. My email is rob, R-O-B, at eatmise.com, EATMISE.com. And yeah, would love to hear if anyone has any ideas. If you guys want to learn more, or anything, just feel free to reach out.
Give me an avatar of your dream partner, your dream restaurant partner.
Oh,
I want the listeners who are in New York City who are listening to this, who you describe. I want them shaking their heads like I need to email.
Yeah, I think this is what we target. We love the big brand names. People love those, and I think restaurants that I think kind of what we're saying, like the ones that really do well are the ones that have within call it a certain price point, maybe call it a $25 entree that people would love to cook at home. And again, kind of alluded before, a little bit of a healthy spin, but in general, also people love unique cuisine types. I'm really copying out by not giving an exact answer, but there's basically, I would say, unique cuisine types, healthy, well named. Like that's kind of our that's our sweet spot.
Got it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure this is going to be episode 1036. So head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/1036 if you want a summary of today's discussion as well. We'll have Robert's email over there and links to EatMise and any other thing that was mentioned worth linking to in today's conversation. Robert, my man, thank you so much. There is no questioning. You are unstoppable.
Thanks so much, Eric. Really, really appreciate it, man.
Cheers.